Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. I think that's I like the cutie mark. Yeah. I don't know what else it could have been when I'm thinking back on it. Like,
What do you guys think it should have been?
Yeah.
Like, is there some controversy out there about what people hoped it would have been, or?
Well, some people let it portrayed as like a seed with a sprout coming out of it.
Yeah. I think I saw a couple of those ones, yeah.
Why do you think they chose what they did? Like, because we don't get asked these things. This is up to a whole different team of
Well,
people.
the episode explained it as it's because she was always blowing her hair out of her face. So apparently she learned how to style hair because of that.
So,
Genius.
genius. That's how they explained it away. So was she still blowing her hair out of her face in the episode, or did she?
Yeah, there was always a.
There was always a little bit of a, yeah, it's just there. That's an idea. Yeah. Well, because she didn't really, she's young, so she didn't have a job or and I like that idea though. That is pretty interesting. That's like with a seed, something sprouting. But how do you? She changed. She had quite a transformation in that episode. So that's a nice idea for something sort of transformative. But maybe they just thought that might be too generic, as opposed to everybody. So many cutie marks are pretty specific. Any more questions at all about anything? Fire away. We'll just talk. So, how was breakfast? Delicious.
So good.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I'm going to take one in the front first. I know my finger is like between here and here is really close. Right here. In the front. Then you're next. Yes. Anything. Of all the roles I've done over the years, which one's my favorite? It's like asking someone to pick favorite children.
You were going to say that.
And because she's here, Brynna's my favorite. Sorry, Ashley. It's hard because so much about what makes something a favorite to anything you do is lots of times it's not necessarily the role, but the experience around it. Like you might, some people might think that that's my favorite song, and it might not be your favorite song because of the vocals in it are so great, or the bass player's incredible, or the band is outstanding. It might be an event in your life that song was playing, and it sort of sticks with you, and you remember whenever you hear that song, you go, oh, I love that song. But it's not, and then you listen to it and you go, actually the vocals are pretty crappy, and the band is not that good. Like there's some 80s tunes when I grew up in high school that I love that are really terrible songs. But because they're attached to certain things in my life, that as soon as it comes on, it's like, I love that song, although it's not that great. So it's kind of like that with characters. I used to hate doing Vegeta. Not when I first started, because it was one of my first animation roles, but as it grew, before it even got popularity, but as we got into it more, it was so hard on my throat with all the screaming, and it would give me a headache, and I would just not look forward to Dragon Ball Z sessions. So it's like, oh, I love Vegeta. But he has I have great fondness for that role because I was the first to give him an English voice in North America, and he's gone on to be, one of the favorite animated characters of all time. I didn't know that when I saw him to begin with. I didn't know what this little short, arrogant, annoying Saiyan was. I had no clue anything about the series. And now, obviously, 20 plus years later, he's a fan favorite around the world. So much so that this many years later, they're doing more series and more stuff with him. And Chris Sabat has done a fantastic job in the U.S. voicing him, and the Japanese voiceover artist who's been doing it since day one is just fantastic as well. So that he's grown on me as a favorite because of just who that character is. I loved, obviously, doing Ryuk in Death Note was a really fun character because it's just a kooky, crazy role. And Zex Marquise in Gundam Wing was a lot of fun. And for sort of prelay roles, I recently got to do Wolverine for a number of animated motion comic series for Marvel. And I grew up with that being one of my favorite roles. And one of the X-Men are one of the comic series that I loved as a kid. And one of the first big roles I landed, which I lost, and this happens in animation, was a new X-Men series that was happening in the, I think, early 2000, maybe, I can't remember exactly when, but I was cast as Cyclops in this series. And he was going to be the leader, and it was a younger version of X-Men, and I did one episode, and the creators decided to change a number of characters in the show. After that first episode, they changed about 3 or 4 cast members, and I lost the role of Cyclops. And I had done one, and I was just devastated to lose that role, because not that Cyclops was my favorite character, but it was my first really big sort of name role that people know who that character is. And it was right when the X-Men movies were really starting to get rolling too. But not far after that, I got to play Wolverine, so I felt justified, because it's actually a character I like more than Cyclops, so that's a favorite as well. Yeah, that was it. Nope, I'm sorry.
Okay, this is another who would say the who question. What do you think would Babs say to Vegeta?
Wow.
I don't know, what would that punk say? She's always a troublemaker. I think I like her. Yeah, exactly. She's like Trunks in a way.
Yeah, I think we'd be pretty good pals.
Maybe.
I don't know. He's a bit of a snitch.
If you could help me destroy Kakarot, I'd be happy. He's a fool.
Yeah, sure. Forget about it.
Forget about what? Yeah.
Of all the voices you've had on MLP, if they were to make one of those characters more prominent, bring them back more often, which character would you want it to be?
Excellent question. Good question. Wow. All the different ones, if one could be more prominent. Well, I really enjoy Sheriff Silverstar, and it would be fun if he was maybe more of a part of Ponyville and had, maybe he was a local sheriff and had a lot more to do with some of the episodes or some things surrounding. That's a fun part. Filthy Rich is a turd, so I can't say I'd want him to. I like to do too many things, because it's always sometimes not that fun to show up doing a character that nobody, none of the other ponies are like, oh, it's him. Although it's a fun character. I would probably say Sheriff Silverstar, and it would be fun if Mr. Cake had a few more episodes that maybe surrounded him and his family, and some stuff happened with those guys. But as opposed to being just sort of a background part of the time, if some really interesting stuff happened with them, those would probably be two that I would probably pick on. But I'd love to play a new bad guy. It's sort of my bread and butter is big, bad, scary roles. And if something came along that fit for me, I would love to do that. But generally, the bad guys are a one-off or one or two. They don't stick around in the town or in the adventures for too long. I always thought it was fun in the Daring Do stories, but if a bad guy could show up that, Vegeta-esque, that's around all the time, that's just always the troublemaker, that would be great. Yeah.
So, now that your daughter is finally starting to get really good roles in MLP, for example, are you afraid that she might one day surpass you as a voice actor?
My voice is getting tired, so she can surpass me, and I need somebody to look after me in my old age. Funny you ask that. We don't compete for a lot of the same roles, but my son and I recently do. Yeah, that would be very odd if we started reading for the same stuff. But my son and I do. Aiden's 20, and he's on a number of animated shows. We do one show together where we play sidekicks of each other, 2 leads in the series, called The Little Prince, which is based on a very famous French book, one of the top-selling books in the history of the world, Le Petit Prince. and it's called The Little Prince, obviously here in North America. And we do that show together, but only in the past, because his voice is getting closer to mine now. He actually shows up at studios. Funny, where we showed up at Dick and Roger's studios where we record My Little Pony, and you have to, when you're outside, it's the 3rd floor up, but you have to buzz into the building. And Roger, who runs the studio, you buzz in to get into the building, and he'll decide if you should be let in there or not, because he knows who's working at the show. So Aiden has buzzed in before for auditions, and I'm there all the time doing stuff. So Aiden, you say who you are at the bottom of the stairs, and Aiden says, that's Aiden Drummond, and Roger's like, Brian? So like, because he sounds a lot like me. And in the past year, we have auditioned for a couple of the same things. I believe I beat him out of one role that he wanted. But we put stuff down together for roles, and he actually got something this year that I auditioned for as well. So he beat me out for a role this year. So it's pretty fun, but it's part of the business. I hope he has all kinds of success and enjoys doing it. And same with Brynna and Ashlyn, they can do it if they want, or if they don't want, they might change their path. But this larynx is only going to last about another 10 years, and it's going to, 15 years, maybe it's going to pack it in. It's only going to be good for Santa Claus roles. Or it's going to sound something like this, probably. I'll be here talking about My Little Pony, and you guys will be like, remember when you were Mr. Kate? And I'll be... Mr. Cake. That's.
Stars full of bearded.
Yeah. Who did what?
Play Stars full of bearded.
Who did what?
Stars full.
With that voice, you could do Star Swirl and Bearded.
Oh, that's what I could do. Oh, who is that?
He's a historical character who lived, old wizard pony who lived hundreds of years ago. Yeah.
Ah, he's a pony that's talked about. But well, I'll get that out there. I will send a message right now. Work on my Stars World of Bearded. Boys, he's a wizard. Thou shalt not pass. Okay. Let's go right over here in the ball cap. How do we get the respective starts with voice acting? Well, I've talked about this a couple times before, and it's not like I never went out to want to be a voice actor. You probably didn't either. It's one of those things. It's kind of when I talk a bit about it, it's like, well, why did you just want to be a voice actor? And I didn't. I wanted to be an actor. So the voice part is just part of it. It's like if you work in. I talked a bit about. It's kind of like if you work in construction. You might not only be a framer, like you just frame, but you might do a number of things. You might have a skill set as an electrician. You might have a skill set as to put windows in. You might just build more than just homes. You might do cedar decking. You might do landscaping. Like you might have quite a skill set in construction and be able to do a lot of stuff. As an actor, you want to sort of build a tool bag filled with a lot of different tools, so that when there's not a lot of work in this area, you can work a little bit in that area. When there's not a lot here, you can work there. And I trained in a theater school in Vancouver, which is one of the top theater schools, Studio 58 in Canada. A fantastic school, and I wanted to do stage work. There's not a lot of stage work in Vancouver, so I began there, and I started doing film and TV in Vancouver, which is huge sci-fi series that are shot in Vancouver, from Smallville to Stargate to tons of X-Files. Some other they shot in our house recently. The Supernatural. Like there's hundreds of shows that are all shot in Vancouver, and so there's always a bit of that work. But I didn't get tons of film work. I played a lot of cops, and then so you're always wanting to be working as a performer. And I heard about this animation industry that was really growing in Vancouver from the late 80s through into the 90s. When I just came out of theater school, that's when I wanted to start working. And I auditioned for something thinking, I don't know how to do this or what it even is, but it sounds fun. I didn't get my first role going out for a series called Reboot. I did not get the role when they were recasting Bob, but I did get my second role, which was a series, G.I. Joe Extreme, it was called. And I was cast as one of the leads in G.I. Joe. And from then on, when I ended up in a room with guys like Gary Chalk, Scott McNeil, Matt Hill, It was the very first show that Michael Dobson did, Colin Murdoch did, a bunch of us that all do tons of voiceover work now. That was one of our first gigs. And I just thought, this is so fun, literally hanging around in a room with these guys, reading scripts, playing around, doing the action, and I thought I want to do more of this. And as soon as I sort of caught that bug, then I started putting my feelers out to want to do as much more of that as I could. And then all these other shows came along to the point that now I do very little on-camera or theater work, because voiceover is kind of taking over everything I do. So that's how it began for me as a stage performer, and then just kind of turned into voice over the years. You, I was like, it's almost time for you to pay rent, get a job. You're too lazy to work at 7-Eleven.
I was about 7 when this happened.
All the kids just, whenever I'd come home, it's hard. Your dad comes home and is giggling about work, and they say, oh yeah, here's a show he did, and they're watching and listening to me on TV. Dad, you're on down here, right? And I'd be on some show that they're watching. They would ask me, can I do that? Is that like, are kids allowed to do that, Dad? Can kids do it? Because they started quite young, and I'm like, yeah, sometimes they cast kids for stuff. It's not as often. Lots of times, there's so many great adult performers that do great kids' voices, like Ashley and Tabitha and Andrea. Like, you got to compete against them. But sometimes they want real kids to play the voices, not an adult that's putting on a kid voice. And that's where kids can end up doing some of the gigs. And Ashley, my youngest daughter, worked on a show called Martha Speaks, and then you booked My Little Pony and Peter Pan, and Aiden the same thing. He did a show called Eon Kid, which was a young boy, and so they started doing stuff as children. And when you start to grow up in the business, you're hanging around all these people that do this work, and your skill set begins to grow as well, and they start calling you in for more stuff. So whether you continue to do it, I don't know. But remember, someone has to look after me when I'm old, so just get wealthy, that's all I
When you turn
care.
into Santa.
Yeah, when I turn into the old Santa guy, yeah. Yeah. So right here in the front first. Question was, is it more difficult to work on dubbing than like what we call prelay, where we just get the scripts and there's no picture already done? So My Little Pony, there's nothing is animated at all when we end up in the room. We all act out the scenes, figure it all out together, and then it's animated after the fact. We call that prelay. We call anime when a show's already been done in some other country, or dubbing. Sometimes we dub shows that are French. Actually, the show Little Prince that my son and I do is French, and we dub it into English. There's Korean shows we dub into English, but the majority are Japanese shows that we dub into English. Dubbing is more difficult. It pays way less, believe it or not, because you're not the original voice of the character. Originality is what tends to have the better pay when you're the original voice of something. But when you're not the original voice of something, it's a different fee structure, and you're paid sort of a line rate to do every line, and it is far more difficult because you're bound by, your acting choices are bound by how long you have to say this line and what the mouth is doing to sort of fit that line, and we don't get to act with other people in the room. You just do your lines by yourself. So it's really tricky, because I might see a line on paper and my instinct would be to say it this certain way. But my instinct is like, well, Brian, that's way too short. It's got to be longer than that. Or it's got to be shorter than that. Or if he's got more flaps, you've got to make it flap differently at different times. And sometimes they're really awkward. That's why some dubbing can be like, man, that's a terrible read of that. But the actor is trying to make his stops and starts where the mouth closes and where the mouth opens again, and then you got to stop in weird places. And sometimes the writing just doesn't work, so it's challenging. Dubbing is way more challenging and not near as fun as working on a show like My Little Pony. We just laugh our butts off on those shows because they're so silly and they're so fun, and you're with all these other people like Ashley and Andrea and Tabitha and Trevor Duvall and Marika and all these people. That it's so much more fun than when you go into a room by yourself and literally the director's on the other side of the glass. It's you and a TV watching an already done show where you have to just so by yourself come up with all that stuff. So by far, dubbing is more difficult. Still fun to do, not as fun as the freelance stuff. It's so much more fun. Yeah, Brony had again.
All right, if you were to play one of the main six, who would you play?
If I was to play one of the main six, oh, this is a good one. I've had this before, and because I like this role. I grew up not far from Vancouver, about 5 hours away. That's why I feel like I could just move right into Texas here with. I grew up on a thoroughbred racehorse ranch, so very different from what I do now, but I grew up with 25, 30 racehorses. My dad still races racehorses. He's 75 or 73 years old. Still trains them, races them. He's got 5 horses, I think, right now at the track, the Vancouver racetrack in Vancouver. And so I think, because I still have a little bit of farm boy or ranch hand at heart, I would probably pick Appleton. That's probably. And Ashley's pretty cool too. It's such a great job, so that'd be my choice. You? How about what would you do with the main 6?
Oh, probably Fluttershy.
I do.
Yeah.
Let's hear your cheer.
You cheer? What cheer?
Fluttershy cheer?
Oh, okay.
I'll try.
Yay.
Look out, Andrea. Don't hurt your voice. Bruno's like, Babs seed hanging around the corner waiting until she's done such a karate chop to the larynx. Brynna, why did you do that? Yay. Yes.
How do you take your coffee?
I take my coffee, I like a medium roast. Dark roast is sometimes a little too much for me. Small amount of Splenda. Oh, this is equal you have here. I prefer Splenda. Equal's a little weird, so my coffee's tasting kind of strange this morning. And a small bit of, it's a small bit of cream. I know. I should drink my coffee black. My mom coffee black, my dad coffee black. My in-laws.
Same sweetener Splenda.
Does it? Sure, it doesn't taste like it.
Is it the yellow eagle?
Yeah.
Yeah, the yellow eagle's the same as Splenda.
Is it?
Read the fine print.
Wow, it is sucralose. I don't know. I know I shouldn't be putting this stuff in my body. It's probably slowly killing me. There it is. Oh, God. Chlorinated sugar. Chlorinated sugar. In the back, yeah.
You laugh in French.
I what?
You laugh in French.
I laughed in French?
Can you laugh?
Can I laugh in French? Les poissons, les poissons. Spot on. I apologize to all my French Canadian friends. The Parisians, screw them. Yes, Andrew. Yep. 0 cutie marks. And this is one thing that's missing in Ponyville that's all over a horse ranch is horse poop. Ever seen a pile of steaming pony poo in Ponyville? Never. Where do they go? They have toilets? That's just weird.
They're civilized
That's just
like that.
weird. How do they, never mind.
So
Magic toilets. Yes, who else? We have, over here, yeah.
You could both have a superpower. What would you pick?
Wow.
I think the first thing coming to mind right now is I'd want to be like Mystique. That'd be so awesome. Wouldn't that be awesome?
It'd be a little
could do
scary.
anything.
You could. Yeah. Yes, exactly. You could eliminate Andrea Livman and it'd be comfort. Wow. This is a hard one, but I'm pretty sure it would have to be something where I could do good with it. I wouldn't be so selfish as I want to fly. Why? Yeah, what are you gonna do with flying? You flying somewhere is not gonna help anybody. Like, you'd be one guy. I gotta get to work, honey. There's that jackass who can fly. The rest of us are down. That's terrible. Being invisible, what's that gonna do? Part of what I always thought I would love to be able to do, but I don't know how it helps anybody, I would love to be able to speak any language just like on the planet at any time. Like just any language. It's not really a superpower because that's something, if I put my mind to it, you could do with an incredible amount of work. Yeah, but that much effort. But if, I just thought, wow, if there'd be some button that I could just instantly talk to anyone in any language. Like we had someone at our restaurant this morning. She could speak like 5 languages, and I'm like, it's so cool just to be able to do that. So, but aside from that, it would have to be. I think it would be if I had a superpower. I think if it could be to heal, that would be like if I could put my hand on someone, cancer gone, and that was a superpower, and I could teach other people how to have that superpower because I'd be really busy. But if I could do that, boy, I think I would have fly and heal. Yeah, I would still be really busy. Yeah, if I could just kind of like do a whole room at once. No cancer, no disease at all. No, yeah, that would be the power to have. Yeah, right here. Yeah.
If you could create a character for yourself to voice in maybe in some art show, what character would you create yourself?
If you could create your own original character. That's the thing though, is like, we get to do that all the time. Like, maybe not how the animators animate them, but we create the characters that we create. Like, Ashley Ball came up with the voices that she came up with for all of her characters, as did Andrea. Like, those weren't, somebody else didn't come up with those. That's an original character voice that she came up with. Now, how it looks, if you're asking me how the character looks, because every voice I create is original to me, unless someone says, oh, there's a couple that haven't been, like when I had to play Dr. Claw for Inspector Gadget, I had to come in and voice match the original because they were doing another 50 episodes of a new series, but we still want him to sound like the original Dr. Claw. So there was a casting session, so it's like, I'll get you, Gadget. All that mad cat. Pounding. So that's not an original one, but everything else is. But so how they would look, I don't know. It would just be how they look would be the only thing that would be different. I love bad guys, so it would probably have to be some super cool, badass character of some kind. I don't know. Yeah, that's an idea. I don't know. Who would you want? You haven't played as many, so there might be some character out there you'd want to be.
I don't know.
You're a Marvel fan. You could probably any of Joss Whedon.
Probably just like a really geeky one with glasses and I don't know, just like a fan of Marvel and Joss Whedon and all that stuff. It's just like the coolest
Super
pony
nerd.
ever.
Are there any nerd ponies? Which ones? I didn't see the last one. Yeah, and that's pretty. Who? Are pretty nerdy. Why? They need like a full front and center, full-on nerd character that's like in everything. That'd be awesome. It's what like she's a nerd. She's a bit nerdy, yeah. Oh, okay. Any more? Yeah. Have you ever or wanted to ever pitch an original concept for a show?
Ooh.
Yeah, that is a good call. I always have little things flutter through my mind, but as I start to think more of them, I'm like, no, that's kind of been done. So has that sort of been done, and oh, they're doing that one again. And but no, nothing that has got far enough that I really started to push it. I know Trevor's worked on the creative side a little bit more, so that might be an awesome question to throw at Trevor when they do their panel this afternoon. Ian Corlette's worked on some original concept stuff and come up with some great stuff as well, so if you ever get a chance to chat with the Corlette family. But I haven't had anything. Because I grew up on a thoroughbred racehorse ranch, I thought of maybe doing something that was about, not horses, but maybe about ponies that all lived together in a place and talked and had voices. Never mind. Didn't work out for me. Yeah, right here. Most of the time, I usually put it out to you guys, what's the favorite line that you've heard that I ever said? Because it's like the thing, like how do you have favorite kids? Favorite lines. I said this last night when we had an anime panel last night, that as actors, we're sort of trained to work in the moment, like to be in the moment and do what you do in the moment, and then you're on to the next moment. So I don't spend a lot of time going, oh yeah, I sure love that line I did 3 years ago. That was some line. Like, it's kind of gone after I do it. I might have really enjoyed that day, doing that episode. That was a fun show. That was Sharuk singing that song. That was a fun recording session, but I don't even remember the lines from the song. I remember singing it and loving doing it and having a good time. It was a blast to go through it, but there's not specific dialogue at all that I pick out that's like, that was my favorite line. I love days and certain shows better than other ones, and it's mostly not because of what I say or what I'm saying or my character. It's because of who's in the room. It's like, oh, I get to work with those guys today. That's such a blast. So it's more about the environment that makes something more fun than not. So I would not say I have a favorite line that exists. I know everybody always wants to go, come on, just tell us what is the favorite line. It's not over 9,000. That's other people's favorite line. You?
Babs has got some really good ones because she has that attitude. What's a couple? I like, looks like some pony's pumpkin just got squashed. I like that one. You gonna tell Applejack what? What are you, a snitch? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, she's got a lot of attitude. I like that about her.
She's spunky. Any more? Go, yeah. Encyclopedia of questions today. Good job. Oh, villains, always. Who would not? Like, villains, it's something, writers love villains too. I don't know, there's just so much more flexibility with what a villain can do, because a villain can, I think writers love villains, and because writers love villains, they always get the best dialogue, and that's why actors can love villains, because a villain can be nice, but a villain can be bad, because the villain can have 2 sides, 3 sides. They can be all kinds of different aspect to them, so you have so much more of a range of what you can do. Generally, a hero is not often terrible, doing a really awful thing, otherwise they're not the hero. So they have a way sort of, you know, their arc in episodes might go a little bit like this, but a villain can do stuff like, you know, have a way different arc to what they get to do and what. So that's why I always prefer villains, because they get the best dialogue, really. Heroes can be bland. Some aren't, but some can be. Some are written really well, and some guys can pull off heroes that are jerks. You know, like Robert Downey, Iron Man, you know, that's a great hero that can be a real putz at sometimes too, but he's, you know, there's certain roles that are great in that way, but most of the time, villains for sure. Yeah, let's go ahead. The most I've voiced in one session. Yeah, I think the most I might have done in one, tons in anime, because in anime, we'll go through and we'll do, like let's say I'm doing, you know, I don't know, Gundam Wing or Drag, you know, maybe Gundam Wing, something like that, so I finish all my Zex Marquise lines, and then like, oh, Brian, we need this pilot here who dies, and we need this random soldier that something happens to. So I don't really count those as characters. Like, you might do 15 of those, and they're all different guys, but they can all kind of be similar, because his He has a Gundam that explodes over here, but we need a scream of death. That's not really another guy, but as far as roles, where you're him, and him, I think maybe 7 in an episode, probably. I'm currently on a show right now where I play 4 lead roles on the show, which are all quite regularly in it. So from big guys to, you know, an old wizard, a huge big guy, and a father, and sort of a sports announcer kind of guy. So I play 4 main roles on that show. That's the one I'm very busy on, and flipping back and forth is kind of challenging on that show. Sometimes what I'll do with the directors, we'll go through a scene, because it's with all the rest of the cast, and I'll do a pass through with just one of my roles, and then we'll go back and pick up the other lines, because lots of times they're talking to each other, and it's sometimes you can have artifacts of one voice that kind of slide into the other voice when you're trying to flip back and forth. They're like, Brian, that guy started to sound a bit like that guy, so we need to go back and pick that line up. But I might say maybe 7 in an episode is probably the most I've done.
If you were a villain, what would be your original catchphrase?
Take that, sucker. No, I don't know. my original catchphrase. Wow. You guys put us on the spot. Man, I need to take notes when it comes. Like, I'm gonna write these down next time and go, yeah, original catchphrase, and then make it to seem like I came up with it. And I'll have it prepared. No, yeah, original catchphrase. I like that one. Take that, sucker. You?
I don't know. I can't think of a specific one, but I like villains that are really, really low key. So, low key.
Oh, yeah. That's one of your favorites, too.
I'm sorry I had to do that. I don't know, they could just go like beating someone up and then just like, oh, well, that'll hurt in the morning. I just love when they do stuff like that. I don't know. I feel really awful when I smile at that, but.
Yeah, exactly. Take that, sucker.
That'll hurt in the morning.
There you go. Exactly.
The evil master, Dr. Drummond,
Mhm.
his lovely
And his sidekick.
daughter, scientist daughter.
You know what my initials are. My middle name is Alexander, so what are my initials? Those are my initials. Mm. Mm-hmm. You've seen my signature. It looks like a little BAD. Dr. Bad, there it is. We've got an OC coming together right in this room. Take that, sucker, Dr. Bad. Dr. Bad and Little Babs. Take that, sucker. It's gonna hurt in the morning.
That's gonna hurt in the morning.
I'm gonna see that someone's gonna draw this soon. I can see it's gonna show up. Yeah.
So when are you going to pitch the Marvel's adventures of Dr. Bad and Lady Bad?
And I don't know. You're gonna have to pitch it. You better get on the horn. Right up with Dr. Bad. I gotta come up with the voice now. We've got the catchphrase and the name. Yeah, we gotta figure out the cosplay costume already too. Do which? Oh yeah. He's gonna say, take that, sucker. There we go. Merry Christmas.
I
Nothing
can
for
just
you.
see the victim being so confused.
Yeah.
Like, wait, that was you?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I love the idea, Brian, but Santa being a villain, take that sucker, doctor. I'm not getting it. I don't think we're going to get financing for this, Brian, but thanks, and we'll see you on the next show. Get out.
Pelting them with presents.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, candy canes. You know, perfect. Yes, exactly. You're the little sidekick elf. Well, this is coming together. You guys, a creative group here this morning. He was. Yeah. Dang it. Bit done. Dang it. Yes. When we're hanging around here, these guys work us to death at these cons. They have like 4 minutes between things. It's like, Get up at 6 a.m., work till 10 p.m. at night. When did we leave here last night? 10 p.m. What was our first thing with that Trevor and I did? 11 a.m.? Oh, heck, that's only an 11-hour day with a little break in the middle. No, it's a tiny break. No, we didn't actually get to see much of Houston. We went to a big mall, the Galleria, is that what it was called? And bought stuff that wasn't too expensive.
You were about to say expensive.
Yeah, well, I bought a cologne.
Not too expensive.
Marika got a purse. You got some outfits. Trevor Duvall got a nice linen shirt. He's gonna look sexy later today. That's all we've done, besides eating at the pile of restaurants around here. I know, thank you. Thank you. Burberry. Yeah, what? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, right here. Yes, it does. But you don't know what's in it. It could be like Nightmare Before Christmas. There's like severed heads and things in there, right? That is one of our favorite movies. Who else likes Nightmare Before Christmas? It is so, that's one of the ones that's like an every year. We got to see that every year. We usually, when we're on the West Coast, so we don't come to Disney World as much, but we hit Disneyland fairly often. We try and get there at least once every couple of years. So, and we always try to go at the time when they changed the Haunted Mansion to the Nightmare Before Christmas theme. So it's we're super fans, and I have a Nightmare Before Christmas hoodie. You don't. It's awesome. It's going to be a while, man. Unfortunately, I'm getting bigger than I want to be. Any more? Last few. How are we doing for time? Are we got time for a few more? I didn't bring my clock up here. You can. Yeah, good. Yes. And then right after, I'll get yours. Yeah. If I was a pony, what kind of pony would I be? Yeah, I would be an earth pony. Yeah, no, I would be an earth pony.
Pegasus.
Yeah, no, I knew you were going to say that. Over here. Oh, and had the ability to do it, not just, yeah, that's a good one. Voice any character, and I knew I could just sort of step in and do it and not put another great actor out of work if there's sort of put all these wonderful things together. There's some big shows that just are great. I would love to do something on Simpsons. There's so many roles though. Like I wouldn't want to have all of Hank Azaria's roles, but he does so many great ones. If I could be Mo, that would, just for a day, it would be pretty great, you know? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There's some Family Guy roles that are just fantastic. If I could be Brian, wait a minute, I am Brian. Never mind. Exactly. Yeah, it'd be something like that. I think if I could, I don't know it's hard to say that, if I could only be Homer Simpson. There's such iconic roles that I can only visualize someone else doing. But those are shows that if you could have an opportunity to have a role or two, would be fantastic, from the Family Guys to the Adventure Times, Futurama, Simpsons. Some of those things are just fantastic. My Little Pony, if I could only be on that show. So cool. Couple more if we have time. Yes. In front of a camera. Well, I don't know if they're small screen or big screen. Most of them were just little guest one-off parts. I don't think I was ever on set for more than 2, 3, 4 days maybe on a show. Most of the time there were cops that I don't even remember the names for, but I remember doing guest stuff on Stargate and Smallville, Supernatural and X-Files and all the stuff that's shot in Vancouver. But I leaned away from that industry because cops and FBI and CIA and all those kind of guys are really usually unless you get a big role, which most of the time they cast out of LA for the big name parts. They're kind of dry roles. Like it's lots of just come in and state the information or state what happened and move on with the scene, or you're the friend of another main cop and you just kind of rattle off information, but there's nothing juicy or exciting to do about it. And because I trained in theater, we always got to do all kinds of great characters. But I wasn't getting to do great characters in film. Although it paid pretty well, I didn't find it nearly as enjoyable as voiceover, but I couldn't even remember the name of any of the characters I played, although I'm pretty sure they all had Sergeant so-and-so, Detective whomever, Chief so-and-so. Yeah, that's who those dudes were that I did. Yeah.
When you first started becoming big names in the voice industry, how did your friends and family start to do that? Did they treat you differently, or how was the?
There's no different treatment whatsoever. They don't care at all. I try to help them with voiceover things. They're like, Dad, shut up. No, not that, but I'll work on them like, I know this industry. And they're like, I'll figure it out. I can do it. No, there's no different treatment at all. Sometimes there'll be people who are like, oh, you did what? It's actually kind of weird when I'll be with parents from my kids' school and they're talking about, oh, what do you do? And they don't really know. It's like, oh, I do voice work. And oh, cool. What kind of stuff? And you mention like, you're so-and-so, and they're all blown away by it, but they don't end up treating me any differently. It's on camera has a very different thing. When someone's face is what's famous, people always get weird around that. They just get weird. When your voice is well known, it's quite different. And because I play such a variety of characters, it's not like I walk in a room and they hear my voice and they go, oh my gosh, it's Homer Simpson. Right? It would be weird if like that's how you talked. If the guy, if Homer's voice was what came out of your mouth, then you would probably get some looks because it's such an iconic sound. Or SpongeBob, can you imagine? You just hear that some with that voice, but it's not the case for me.
Well, I wonder specifically whether Brynna's friend when she went into Bath People, was anything changed?
Yeah. Not too much. I think I kept it on the down low for a bit. I don't know why. I think it was like, I don't know when I can talk about it, when I can't. And we're also in a pretty small school, but yeah, sometimes my friends joke when I talk about some of these conventions and stuff, to be like, oh yeah, when you're like super famous, we'll be your bodyguards and stuff. And I'll be like, whoa, slow down. I'm like, I'm not that big a deal, but yeah.
And some of the littler kids are a little bit more impressed when they're like,
That's
you weren't that, but she's very good at not promoting anything she does at school, so she really keeps it on the down low when it's not like...
I don't like being like a show-off, like, look what I did, and you didn't.
There's not a lot of ego in voiceover, so we don't... Yeah. We don't do a lot of tooting our own horns where we go, so people usually find out on their own. I'll run into and this was recently, I'll be at some parent event and someone's like, oh, Brian, I Googled you the other day. I'm like, you? Why? Well, I heard you did voice, and I was like, oh, wow, you did that thing, but it's pretty casual. It's not too weird. I think if you got big in film, it would probably get awkward in those kind of scenarios. Like if all of a sudden you landed some big film gig or TV series, then it would probably get pretty weird showing up to pick your kids up at school. But voiceover is great. You can really be anonymous and still have a great career. Exactly. Take that, sucker. How are we doing time? That's about all we got. Awesome. You guys had crazy questions today. They were great. Thanks so much for coming. We look forward to another time in the wonderful state of Texas.
Thank you.